We're here with Marco Beltrami. This is one of the cool cues from Scream. Trouble in Woodsboro?
Yeah.
This cue always stood out to me, even when I first saw the film, because it's very experimental. There's so many different types of sounds. It's not the standard kind of horror sound you would hear.
Well, it's the first horror movie I'd ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had nothing to
You had
say.
no basis.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea what a horror movie was supposed to be or anything. I remember being in the first screening with Wes, and the beginning of the movie is all these self-referential jokes, I guess, about other horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and all that, and I didn't get any of them. So I was sitting there very self-consciously not laughing next to Wes, who was, I think, wondering, like, what's going on. And I had to tell him, Wes, this is the first horror movie I've ever seen.
How did you get into a room with Wes Craven and not have ever seen a horror movie?
You know, Scream was a low-budget movie. It was the beginning of, they were just opening this Dimension branch at Miramax. Yeah, run by Bob Weinstein. And Wes was having trouble finding a composer. You know, I don't know for what reason. I had done very little at this point. I had done a short movie for some students at USC. The kids at USC that I did this movie for went on, and there was a radio show back then called The Silver Screen, I think it was called. And they were interviewed on it. They were asked about the score because the music was really featured in their short movie. And let's see what happened. Wes Craven's assistant happened to be listening to the podcast and then was like, well, maybe, Wes, we should try, somebody else. So they asked me the next day. They somehow got my number, and they said, would you put together a demo for this? And I didn't have anything that I thought was appropriate for a horror movie in an orchestral venue. I had a few concert pieces that I had little snippets of that might work, so I wrote some things, but they were unorchestral. I was like, instead of making this an orchestral demo and trying to copy like John Williams or anything like that, I'm going to lean into the fact that I don't have an orchestra, and I'm just going to rely on the sounds that I have. This is before I started making sounds, so these are all stock sounds from different libraries. But I'm just going to put together what I can, and I played it for Wes, and he thought it was really refreshing to hear a demo that stood out from all these fake orchestral sample things that he didn't really want in his movie anyway. So I met with him. We had a really good meeting. He screened the movie for me there. That's when I sat next to him, and I was sort of embarrassed. And then he said, listen, I can't just hire you for this movie because I don't know but if you like, and this was on a Friday afternoon that I met him, he said, you can take home the opening of the movie. It's a scene where Drew Barrymore dies. It's a 13-minute long cue, the opening of the movie. Take this home, and if you can bring me back a score for it on Monday, then we'll play through it and see how it goes. So I was like, great. And I walked out of that meeting, and I was like, fuck. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah, no kidding.
So
I'm stressed out just hearing that.
So I called up Chris Beck, who had a studio, and I didn't.
Nice.
And I said, Chris, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, I don't know. I said, can I use your studio? And he said, yeah. So I went over to his place. I camped out at his for the whole weekend. And I recorded what I could. I did what I could. I'd never seen a horror movie. To me, it was the scariest thing watching, this girl get chased around. And so I scored it like I was in her shoes.
Nice.
I didn't have any references. And I went back to Wes, played it for him, and he was like, wow, this is different, very different from what I would expect. He said, but we're having a screening in New Jersey this week, a test screening. I want to cut your cue into the beginning of the movie, and let's see how it goes. And the movie went to New Jersey, Secaucus, New Jersey. I get a call from Wes after the screening. He says the movie got an 89, which was really good for it was way over what they expected. So if you want the job, it's yours.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh, that's great. And then I have to say I spent every penny. It was a $30,000 package.
Yeah.
I spent every penny and plus more recording it. We did it at the old Warner Brothers before they transformed it. And I even got Wes and the producers involved. There was one of the things in the score was I wanted it to be eerie. So with the string harmonics, I have whistling, and I needed a whole bunch of whistlers, and we didn't have it. So I said, who can whistle in the production? A few people, including Wes, raised their hands. So I put them out with the violins.
Fabulous.
And then he felt really close to the cue too. So it they
Very
played
smart.
They played it well in the movie, and it was great.
Oh, and we have Ghostface staring at us.
That's from the original Scream.
Oh, that's the actual mask?
There was a few of them, but yeah, but Wes gave me after we finished, I think the third or fourth Scream
Iconic.
movie. Yeah.